Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It is a first to start. It's impossible to say that retail came out differently from the pandemic. It's ever more connected with an amplitude of channels and ecosystem better straightened, and it has been providing consistently new experiences to their consumers in the FecomercioSP São Paulo. It's important for us to reinforce this very important. We have a board for digital economy and innovation and a project to foster this, which is called Collab. And this panel, we're going to be talking a little bit about what has changed inside the segment post-pandemic and what the pillars are. For this, we have Paula Andrade, VP for Retail, Natura Company Latin America, Andries, CEO for OLX, Rodrigo Spillere, the CIO of Biscuit, and also Ricardo Costa, Commercial Director for Daki. Good afternoon to everyone, and to start off, I'll get straight to the point. Talk to Paula, who's closest to me, but I want to hear from all of you as well. What are the main points, Paula, for the changes in retail post-pandemic? Firstly, hello to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here at FecomercioSP and my colleagues here to talk about such relevant topic, the innovation in retail, especially digitization of the segment. The pandemic accelerated not only the plans for Natura regarding digitalization, but all of us. We clearly are a company based on consulting, and this relationship with the customers provided due to a consulting company or a store and or online, the two channels we have today. Obviously, other B2B we are also present in. We had during the pandemic an acceleration of this digitalization, which is rather important. We opened up, starting from the pandemic, we have over 1 million digital spaces in which consulting companies can perform sales not only face-to-face with their clients, but also through digitalization in which Natura delivers the product to the final end consumer. And stores, they became not only delivery points for consumers based on a wish list online to generate narrative upon delivering, but the salespeople relating themselves directly to the consumers. So it became a hybrid model in which from an online purchase, we can deliver to a physical store, but also there's the physical and later on online, creating a great Natura ecosystem. Now, I want to hear from you, Rodrigo. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, guys, Biscuit is a company which is 50 years old. It's a completely physical retail model before the pandemic, and we were getting ready to open an IPO back in 2019. The data is open. It's an open company. Everything was going wonderful for the IPO to happen, and pandemic kicked in, and all shops were closed. 150 stores in 14 states, and no site was available to sell anything online. So basically, we asked ourselves, okay, what are we to do? So we saw Mercado Livre purchasing 6 planes. We looked at the other way. We saw Magalu with multi-channel flying for many years. So Biscuit didn't have a lot of options but to change into a technological company. I went over there around about this period during the pandemic, and my main goal was to transform Biscuit into a tech company. And it was amazing because everybody anxious on what was to happen some days. Am I going to lose my job and fearful? But everybody with that feeling of ownership and putting a lot of energy into making it happen. The board was well aligned, and we managed to get into a digital transformation plan never before seen. It was an incredible case. We went from one channel to 6 different channels today. Biscuit, 15% of the income comes from online. We have an in-now marketplace. We have an app with augmented reality. You can project the products into your home. We have a direct sales program, the consulting list sales, and we have the withdraw 360. You can purchase from home and pick it up at the store. You can purchase at the store exclusive e-commerce products and receive it at home or at the store. So this was carried out quite quickly, and something that had no way out. So the transformation from retail, save a few exceptions with companies that were well structured, it ended up happening quite quickly, and a culture very physical for many years, and ends up suffering a radical change, forceful even. But this was incredible and rather good. For us to proceed, I want to hear from you in all access. I know very much about the story Rodrigo's telling, a lot of surprises, 100% offline, and suddenly you had to become online within weeks. Many of OLX clients are medium to large, small companies that have no resources to create processes, and OLX have a very important role to help them to become digital and service the customer. The customer was already digital pre-pandemic, so the seeking started to become bigger online, and this pandemic led a lot of companies and forced a lot of companies to become digital quickly. So we had a very important role to assist companies on how to attend, and these companies online, how to sell a car or something online, and in which the business had to go on, and it was quite impressive to see how fast companies transformed at this moment. A lot of creativity was necessary at this moment also to seek a solution in this rather challenging moment, and something I enjoyed a lot to see how fast we have grown, and it has come to stay. Yeah? So this digitalization acceleration kept going after the pandemic, because a lot of noticed that they were able to provide better services to the customer, and a lot of businesses have grown into this digital realm. I want to see your vision on the theme. First, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for inviting me. And Daki has a rather different story. We were born during the pandemic, so Daki is a digital supermarket with ultra-fast delivery. We were the first company in Brazil to perform a 15-minute delivery, and we had to be born with this thing in mind, born in the cradle of technology, so a rather different challenge. But on the other hand, the benefits from the pandemic, this digital transformation, both on the company side as well as the client side. Clients had no other option, so lockdown, what are you to do with your shopping needs? So this was very interesting to notice that it has accelerated a little bit of this purchasing journey that ends up not being completely online, but necessary. And this need also revealed that, yeah, it is possible to have a more convenient grocery shopping and more economical. It happens in other channels, but for them to understand that it's a more reliable channel, you can purchase, it's convenient, it's not necessarily more expensive. Sometimes it's the opposite even. So I think there was a change of habit in general for consumption. It has come to stay, I believe. So I'm excited to see how these next cycles will take place. I want to explore a little bit further what you have mentioned regarding the matter of you having grown inside amidst the pandemic in a 100% digital supermarket, and a delivery below 15 minutes is not easy. So it's a matter that comes up. How can we achieve fluency in this delivery and the management and logistics specifics? Yeah, this is the biggest challenge possible when it comes to a ultra-fast delivery. How do you solve it? Absurd technology, all the procedural steps for a fast delivery and operational. So we are a very strong business when it comes to execution, the whole chain, from supply chain, talk with the providers, the system the picker uses to perform the whole operation, all the small details to have perfect execution. This was our decision when we created the business. So we had the team of 5 creators idealizing everything, and the intention was always to verticalize the chain. So we own the app, we own the store, we own the stock, we own the delivery. The delivery is exclusively with us, so you become the owner. So you invest in technology in all the steps, and you do an absurd control of quality in the process. With that, you don't depend on a third party. You don't depend on like a third party retail to have a picker or something. You don't depend on anybody else. It's 100% verticalized, and that's the income. Yeah, lots of technology all the time, and a very great execution method. So you're talking about the matters observed by OLX, but OLX is natively digital. However, you are a platform of means. So how can you talk a little bit about the support of this small and mid-sized vendor? Yeah, yeah. So OLX is a very democratic platform for a lot of people and small businesses. It starts with an ad on OLX. It's rather simple. It's as easy as publishing it on online media. So this is something we did a lot of education there, because there was a lot of fear to start selling online. When I first came to Brazil back in 2011, so 10% of the Brazilians only sold online. Now it's 50%. So we are halfway there when it comes to digital education. So it's a new model of consumption. So what we did a lot was to, the first step, a rather simple ad, and we aggregate even further the value. And we noticed to indeed offer a good experience, for instance, purchasing a car now, it's not only having an online ad, you have to take care of the whole process, financing, vehicle history, document transfer. So we have to provide this all integrated process. Not a lot of people purchase a second-hand car without looking at it. So everything that can be done online, we will provide to provide a fluent digital experience. And you told me you got into Les Biscuit, into this intense digital process. Les Biscuit was founded in the late 70s. It had an ample physical chain. And how long did Les Biscuit take? So for you to change the wheel with the car moving, so to speak. And what was the biggest challenge throughout this process? I think it has a lot to do with the culture. Yeah. So other speakers were talking about how hard it is, this cultural part of the company. So at first, it has to be willing and able to have this great change in culture. As Les Biscuit was in that path. For those who don't know, they're quite big in the Northeast. They have 150 shops, and it's a company in which the grandmother bought, and the daughter buys as well. It's something from the heart, yeah. So Les Biscuit has 2 investment funds behind them, like the funds, and were very much purchased into it. We had to do a revolution. I'm not even going to say digital transformation, very much aligned from the top down. So a culture was implemented, it was changed, this culture. So we created the APRs, the main goals and the key results. We created the technology teams. We had to be very quick about that. We acquired a startup in which the biggest selling point was augmented reality. But it was not because of that. It was because of the staff culture. So we had this shock because the startup was half the size of the IT team. So we brought this other culture to indeed bring this culture shock. We called it LELEDs initially. And the LELEDs ended up shocking, and it still does. With Les Biscuit culture, and it was very fast because people said, yeah, wait, I want to be there. I want to talk about agility. I want to work with this format. So we ended up aiming everything towards agility, and we got the IT with 3 towers, which was the infrastructure, digital, yeah, because we had the beginning of digital and corporate systems, and we transformed those into digital platforms. So we call them tribes, and but we call them platforms, sales platforms with 2 squads. We created a platform to think about products and financial solutions for our clients. We knew we were at this moment in which the customer had changed, and we had a very high inflation. They got a moment of high inflation in which people could not afford to buy food. The main client for Le Biscuit was CBE, and we had to do so to create platforms that would think about its mission. Each platform had their own mission, and every system and software developed, as well as technologies, was with this team thinking 24/7, focusing on that mission, on those missions. So these 4 platforms were considering these missions, and we were very successful. Right after we created the startup, we acquired a tech team very ready. We inserted the first MVP for our application within 3 months. And so it was rather quick, obviously. It started gaining in maturity. In the first Black Friday of 2021, we had a bigger income compared to 2020. Just November alone was 5 times bigger.
And today we are still living that retail experience, and we haven't come to the previous level. But the goal or the main problem is that money is very expensive, and we have cash burning so that we can perform this digital transformation. And now our main goal for 2022 was profitability. We could get to the break even in August with investment, with cash burning, and past 2 year, even though we had some interesting figures, now we have in 22 this point of balance, and now we are starting to generate revenue, and perhaps that was a turning point for us. And I won't say that it was fast nor even slow. We are still going through the process. We've just gotten to this break-even point. There are still many things to run under this bridge, and I would like to learn from Natura, and it serves the end consumer, but B2B is the pillar of your business. And related to digitalization, you said that we had 50% of the market, and you used to have 11% of the market. And how is it with the sellers? So, in essence, Natura is born from the passion for cosmetics and the passion for relationship. And in the first moment, the digitalization comes to increase the consultant's revenue in addition to provide our services better service. And before pandemic, we had a very well established roadmap about what we call the end stage would be, about what the platform of Natura would be, what the ecosystem would be that not only connects us with our consultant and to our service, but also to service provision, so that our consultants would not only earn more and be more productive, but also we could make business with our customers, with having them in the focus. And we have many digital tools that transforming consultants into social sellers. And whenever someone gets into our website or an application, consultants use that tool a lot. And a very nice way of, for instance, determine the right tone of foundations for the women. And we have over 100 stores throughout Latin America. And in those stores, consultants may pick up a product, for instance, and use on their customers. And we also have these online delivery services, and these points become dark stores for deliver in just a few minutes to the customers. We have a set of tools that help us not only and not only help our consultants with this hybrid relationship in person and digital, but that would also potentialize our relationship with our customers. And adding to your words, what are, in your opinion, the most relevant channels, and what channels lost force? Well, it's an excellent question because in the past 2 or 3 we saw this booming of the online commerce. I believe that is a reality for many people, and in our Natura group and the Body Shop is a brand that is under my umbrella. We had a very irrelevant e-commerce in important countries like Chile and Mexico. And during the pandemic, so we opened our e-commerce website in other countries. And in Brazil, the sales went fourfold, and that was a phenomenon to everyone. For those who were home, and after the market was open, then we will have this hybrid perspective, and the beginning of the purchase begins or takes place online through digital media, through digital tools, but it can and it has happened in the physical stores. So brick and mortar stores has this experience role that is more important to the customer, even more important than it used to be in the past. So our customers can choose what is the channel that they want to buy their products from, and the brick and mortar channel is more closer to the customer. So you can offer not only your portfolio of products, but it's one of the pillars where Natura is a leading company, and this is the very origin of the products to the end consumers. And this is one of the most latent issues for our customers. I believe that the role of the hybrid relationship is it makes more sense after the pandemic compared with the pre-pandemic period. So you said that the purchase of Biscuit is generational. We had the grandmas that purchased the Biscuit products, and then the mothers, and now the daughters. Well, how do you see it? Well, I agree with Paula. I believe that the hybrid model is our challenge now, our main challenge indeed. And as Jack Nalla said, we do not have any, not such a thing as online and offline. We have the new retail, how we can create that customer experience. That is our greatest challenge. But the main thing about it is that we should understand who your customer is and what is the habit that these customers have. And obviously, if we have a new customer that became ours during the pandemic, and it became our purely e-commerce Biscuit product, if we compare this customer with a purely motor customer, the profile is totally different. And the e-commerce profile is the sort of customer we are looking for, which oftentimes was already a customer from our motor stores and who went digital. And these people have a higher average ticket because of the recurrent purchases. But the challenge here is not thinking about channels, but how I can serve those customers. Because sometimes an operations director told me, well, the brick and mortar store is related to offline customers, but they won't be using WhatsApp. So this is the question that I asked him. Everyone today is digital, but the question is how do we get to those customers without friction? We created the Leap Mais or Leap Plus, which is an infinite shelf program. So today, many people who are coming back to the stores want to have the same easy service or the same experience as they have online. Perhaps we would be working with a lower margin in these cases, but we have to be competitive. And because of that, we managed to have this assisted purchase at the store for customers who are not confident enough to provide the credit card numbers. And our goal for next year is being able to implement these in our multi-channel tools, and what is the information that we'll have from this new perspective, because we have the the purchase journey of those customers in in mortar brick stores, and how can we have the same sort of data from the e-commerce from those customers? Okay, thank you very much, Andres. And when we changed our model during the pandemic area at OLX, you see the product, you make sure that everything is all right, and then you make the payment because it provides safety. And during the pandemic, perhaps people started to negotiate before closing deals. And security and safety is very important for OLX. Brazilians love to bargain, and we had a chance of turning that into a reality in the e-commerce world. If you buy remotely, you just cannot send money and wait for another one to send the right product to you. And we created a warranty, and you pay, but if you do not receive the right product, then you have your money back. And we also created the negotiation e-commerce, so we can provide an offer, and if the other party agrees with your offer, then you can buy items on our platform. So you could create other channels for buying online, but without losing that essence of OLX. So it's very, very cool. I'm 100% in agreement with your observations. Well, we have even a change of the role of those chains. I believe that the brick and mortar role becomes more relevant, and perhaps we should bring that to our current reality. And we are totally digital business, but we have a different mission, which is educating people towards using the digital channel. But it's not quite obvious, but you naturally would be cautious about the items that you buy. We have some educations going on here, and this is also a part of our culture as a company. We should ensure reliability and a purchase journey that is still to be more developed. And added to your words here regarding the consumer experience, Ricardo, I'd like you to tell about how you see the current moment and where we are going to now. I believe that we have many aspects involved here, and one of those is the so-called convenience experience. I believe that e-commerce has always been able to bring more comfort to consumers from the point that it's not stressful. It won't be getting to your place 1 month after you purchase the item. It has this strength as a channel. But now, even more, we need to reach a certain level of excellence by the customer. And there's another point, which is the purchase experience. And this is related to the augmented reality experiences. How can you translate your experience uh, for instance, of physical purchase experience into something digital that is as pleasant as the physical one, something that would please you, for instance? How can you translate that into the digital world, like if you're buying onions or tomatoes, for instance, because your items do not have smell online. And how would you know that the product is okay or is pleasant? Perhaps medical products might have the same product, but some challenges are still not quite clear. But some things, however, have already been concretized. And talking about furniture or home appliances, we are having these hindrances. And well, let's see what technology will provide us with in the future, because we might have new technology products being launched. But here we still have some challenges for the online experience. How you could retain the physical criteria in the digital world for clothing, furniture, and other items. But this challenge has not been totally solved for the online experience. And regarding cosmetics, we do have this sensorial thing going on. And how has this change in experience been for you? Yeah, we do have uh, noticed this change of habits of our public. For instance, face categories, and we have very expedited sales online from those digital media regarding the efficacy of those products. And whenever the product is exposed in social media or ads, then that reverberates into a digital sale. But other categories are more physical related fragrances. And in this case, we, after the pandemic, have had a tool in our stores called a Perfumar, where the consumer does not to be in contact with the fragrance, but based on a repertoire of thoughts and life aspects of that consumers, we have these smell-related aspects that would suggest a certain fragrance to the customer without any touch or exchange between our store consultant and the end consumer himself. But at the same time, we have the entire experience behind it that involve presenting the products to our customers, and this is where they can experiment the products. I believe that this portfolio regarding the non-touching of the products or not even touching the customer and offering the products at store makes the difference when we are about to sell the products to the end consumer and provoking the trust in our brand.
So we do it in a hybrid manner as well. I want to bring another more technical subject regarding data usage to avoid loss waste of time. We have a guy here from our board of digital innovation that was at the web summit in TCC this week, and a rather interesting data. She said that bad data compromises about 80% of the activities of the collaborators. So, Rodrigo, you that are very well acquainted with the subject, how are you dealing with this subject, this omni-channel transfer? How is it to conduct more efficient business? Yeah, we were a little bit more luck. We were a little bit more lucky uh, with the possibility to build a digital from scratch. So it's probably different from other companies that have been in the digital for a while. They have been accumulating some data. So we managed to build our data privacy by design. So to think what is the minimal amount of data possible we're allowed to have stored so we don't have this problem further ahead. So to avoid having too much data, for instance, too much money spent with infrastructure with data you will never use. So you always think about using a lot of data to understand customer experience. So we monitor screen, we do screen recording, heat recording, identify where the client is going through in the physical. We can do some tracking to see what is the purchase journey of each client, because I'll be able to return it to them as experience. I'll be able to understand, for instance, at what moment in their lives we released together with the BMG a digital card, because we identified at that time our clients needed a little bit more credit, so we had to purchase them, and that increased greatly our income in physical stores with digital solutions. So data, first thing you think of is I'll collect as much data as I can, because then I'll have email marketing for everyone and I'll just start sending out a lot of information. And at first instance, this works. Yeah, I came from other companies that would even do so. That will get big data and they had an email blast and it provides a result in sales at first stance. But those people go away. They don't engage with the brand. They don't return. Now with LGPD especially, it's great risk now. So if there is data leakage and if any problem happens with the data, you're responsible for it, especially with sensitive data that identify sensible data. We don't ask for gender, ethnicity, no sensible data that could be that in which the very algorithm can interpret wrongly. A lot of racist or xenophobia from the algorithm themselves. Obviously, the one to blame is not the algorithm, but we avoid, because I think the very experience, the experience is ageless, genderless. It's not that marketing persona. It's a 35-year-old woman who likes something. Or we're able to analyze what makes sense to that person at that moment. And we have technology to do so at this moment. What you said makes a lot of sense. At OLX, yeah, I know you have a gigantic amount of data there to optimize the working operation of the company. Here at OLX, we were born digitally, so had a lot of information based on data. What we have been doing in the past years is to help small, medium-sized companies with this culture. It's an owner that knows the market very much, and with the intuition, they are able to make decisions, and it has to be more scientific. Biggest autonomy based on data. So we have a gigantic number of data with real estate transaction, car sales, and so on. So we have pricing and everything that helps speed up the process and sells more quickly because they're able to get it right much more often. We saw in the past year car prices for second-hand cars, they rocketed up because we had this shortage of brand new cars. So we had to react quickly because within 2 weeks' time, the price could have gone up 20% or so. So FIPE table, for instance, was no longer considered. So the speed was only possible because of the digital data available. So if you want to be agile and provide autonomy to people inside the company to be able to act as fast, you have to have a very good, well-established database. So Ricardo, so they talked about the small, medium companies. So when it comes to a small and medium company size, what is important to purchase for a company to structure itself? It seems something very far away to some companies in Brazil. Yeah, completely. Yeah, I think it's something regarding the reality of the company. Where it comes from, I'll get the example of Daki. We started small, one shop in Pinheiros. That was our reality 16 months ago. So inside a startup world, you are on a mission to scale up fast. So this gives you access to capital to have nice bets on what makes sense, yeah? So getting this section of infrastructure, etc., this was our backbone. We're born with it. We understood we were firstly tech and then retail. So it was a rather natural pathway for us to use a little bit of resource to prioritize this theme, understanding that it was very strategic for a retail mission. At the end of the day, retail, I think, has lots of potential for data usage. We haven't reached full potential of data, a very recurrent and relevant theme, but I can see we're at the beginning of this journey as a sector, not only retail, but as a whole. There's a lot to be discovered and to be done. And Paula, we're talking about data, and we talked about provide ammunition to salespeople. How does that B2B get into Natura, yeah? So based on data, especially behavioral data, of course, we have this rather big amount of transactional data, and after mapping what the behavior is from our consultants, we are able to provide individualized offers for their individual clients. So ever more, even further, we have been able to segment what they are able to provide to their end consumers. And at the same time, the usage of data to provide maybe purchase suggestions for our distributors. When we look back in the 2000s, the franchise market was based on selling the sale to the franchisee, and we had very little concern about the franchisee sale to our clients. And based on the data understanding, regionalization, city population, etc., and much more behavioral, We are able to individualize suggestions of orders for the franchisees so they can perform better businesses at the end, and we're able to be more consistent when it comes to product offering to our clients. So just like my colleagues here, the use of that data much more conscious, generating more business at the end, I believe it's a future to all of us. I was hearing Ricardo's explaining to small and medium-sized companies, data repository, a data lake is very sophisticated. Of course, I work in a big company such as Natura, but tools that are readily available for in the market for small companies, it makes a lot of sense for you to have a data repository to be used later on, especially on a sheet for the consumer. It's a point for us to look upon because it's no longer a trend. It is already a truth for the individualization of the customer for companies. We're reaching the end of our panel, unfortunately, but before wrapping up, I want to hear from all of you a statement of what we have managed to conquer, so to speak, with the pandemic, but something that forced this digitalization when it comes to these ecosystems in Brazil. And what do you foresee? What are we to do with those opportunities? Yeah, I want to talk to you, Paula, about this. Excellent. As I previously mentioned, we are moving towards a rather hybrid universe, the offer of solutions that add up not only to the digital for consumers that are rather digital. For instance, I only grocery shop online, and I acquired this behavior during the pandemic. Just like Natura has clients that are 100% digital with the relationship only available online, how do you provide then? How do I offer a product which is experimental, such as cosmetic, for exclusively digital only customer? So I mentioned Natura Tones, which offers the identification of a base color. There is a virtual mirror in which you are able to apply makeup on yourself. There are equipments at the stores for fragrances that you don't need to touch. So the sophistication aiming towards digital evolution based on technology already available and scalable on the market and cheap is to identify what the consumer needs for us to be working on internally. So the client's voice has a much louder tone in the post-pandemic, like compared to the past. Somebody mentioned it's not only a channel any longer, retail, online. They work integrated to better service your clients. This is the reality, and for those who perform better, they will be better prepared for the end consumer journey. The pandemic was the beginning. Retail has changed greatly during the pandemic. So it's a cliche, it has digitalized itself, but the future, we can hardly predict it, but the future doesn't happen very often with data scientists analyzing what data will be like from now on. It happens based on simple behavior. Go to the shop, observe the client, what they need, what they're talking about, what they're complaining about, what they're talking about in the customer service, what are they writing on the Google Play page or Apple Store. So what are they claiming? Do they want help? Understanding their behavior. Go to the shop, observe all the great disruptions we see in technologically are simple solutions. A child just went there and asked maybe, why isn't it like that? So we're analyzing all those millions of data. We're consuming a lot of resources, but sometimes the future is just upon us. So I have to analyze a journey and understand what makes better sense for my client. So if they don't want to purchase online, how can I scale that? How can I potentialize that? How can I provide the same experience online as in offline? Will they be receiving within hours? They want their products to arrive. I was talking with Testa a few moments before. Most times the client doesn't want gamification. A lot of them talk about the wall journey. They just want the basic. They want to purchase it. They want the product to arrive at that time with fair price, They want to be able to finance it in a fair way for them. So that's what we're thinking about regarding the future. So it's a rather simple experience. Customer is used to one click on Uber to get the car. There's a whole complexity the consumer doesn't even realize. And they expect the same thing when they're purchasing a car. With one click, they want to be buying the car, have the whole financing and documentation. So we are very far from it. It's not OLX that is able to solve all that. So we have an important role for digitalizing the whole ecosystem and integrate that into a simple experience, the way we understand it. The good thing about the pandemic is that now banks and other Detran and other players inside the ecosystem, they understand that this movement is necessary. We can no longer take weeks for a simple process. So it's a great opportunity for us to accelerate this digital transformation in our sector. Yeah, I completely agree. And looking at the pandemic, we generated demand, yeah. People understood they were, in a certain way, forced to interact, and this got them to understand that it is possible. It makes sense to buy online. So e-commerce, to me, has come to stay, and this is very clear for an ecosystem of business as a whole. Now it's serious. Okay, before it was okay, it was a nice channel, 1%, but now no, it's relevant in terms of demand, and it does bring some big challenges. The profitability, which Rodrigo talked about a little bit, the operation as a whole. Secondly, the experience. Yeah, so to be able to receive quickly, correctly, with no problem, with no stress. When you purchase that, you at a physical store, you purchase a shirt, and that's it. You have a good experience. So the basics, well done. That's the second challenge. And lastly, I think that's it. The experience, profitability are two great things for the channel to be able to deliver and be taken seriously by everyone, both by the company as well as by the clients. I want to thank all of you who have been with us so far, and I want to thank also you who have participated here. Thank you so much. Very enriching. Thank you.